As more people get their shots, hesitancy toward COVID vaccines has been falling. But as of just a few weeks ago, 3 in 10 people were still saying they probably or definitely would not get vaccinated. And among black Americans, that number is nearly 40%. A new campaign out today from the Ad Council is hoping to change that, showing all living U.S. presidents getting their shots, well, except for one. You can guess who that is. Here it is.
This vaccine means hope.
Roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Some have been pushing for other public figures to use their platforms to promote the vaccine too, such as professional athletes. But that's been an uphill battle with the reports of several top NBA players not wanting to take part in league-sponsored PSAs on the issue. And then when a reporter directly asked LeBron James this week whether he'll be getting vaccinated, here's how he responded.
And pretty much probably keep that to a private thing. Things like that, when you decide to do something, I think that's a conversation between you and your family and not for everybody. So I'll keep it that way.
I'm joined by senior ESPN writer, NPR sports commentator Howard Bryant, also a former reporter for the Washington Post and the Boston Herald, and the author of Full Dissidence, Notes from an Uneven Playing Field. Howard, it's great to see you.
Hey, Jim. Good to see you.
Here's the conclusion I drew from LeBron's decision. When you're that much of an activist and you believe so much in your social justice cause obligations, the only reason he's not answering the question is because he's not getting vaccinated and doesn't want to discourage others from getting vaccinated. Is that not reasonable?
I think that's a pretty reasonable conclusion. It's not a very difficult question to ask. It really is in a lot of ways a yes or no question. But I think I took two things from this when I was following this, Jim. And I think the first thing I took from it was this is a great opportunity to not have to listen to professional athletes or famous people at all. We don't have to listen to LeBron James. We don't need an opinion from him on everything. We don't necessarily have to hear what his voice is or what his take is on this, because there are plenty of other people in the country right now who are telling us that they do support vaccination. So if LeBron James isn't for it, then so be it. And it doesn't really, I think it's a great opportunity to remind ourselves that they're just people. But the other thing that I took from it as well was the idea, too, that this is a real issue in the black community. I remember just a few months ago talking to Henry Aaron after he got the vaccine, and then he passed away a few weeks later. And the number of people, when I spoke with the Aaron family, they were saying that one of the things that they had to do actively, and the folks over at Emory Hospital that they had to do actively, was to tell people that this virus vaccine did not kill Henry Aaron, that the trepidation in the black community based on history and based on distrust of medicine and the whole thing and where we fit in the healthcare system, that these fears are real, and that this was something that they had to get out in front of it before it became a news cycle that the coronavirus vaccine killed Hank Aaron, and it didn't.
But that's exactly why I think he has an obligation. Let me quote you to you, if I may, and I hope I get it right since it's you that wrote it. In your great book, The Heritage, you're talking about how among black workers in this country, the most powerful ability to influence others are black leaders who play high-profile sports. They're role models. And I think you went so far to say, I believe you did, that as a result they have a social responsibility to do the right thing. LeBron James, one of the highest profile influencers in the world. And so while I agree with you, there are other people you can follow. He's somebody who millions do follow, no?
That's right. Well, there's no doubt that you can conclude that LeBron James dropped the ball on this. I'm not saying that completely outright because I don't really care what LeBron James has to say about this. It's not, for me, I don't view him as somebody that I need to hear from. Yeah. But along those lines, absolutely, you can say, well, wait a minute, I need you to explain this. I need you to really be clear about this. You were the one last year who was actively out there telling people to vote. You were the one out there with your More Than an Athlete campaign. So if you're going to be out front on these issues, there's no bigger issue in the country right now than the pandemic. Then you need to clarify your position on this. 100%, that's a legitimate way to go with him.
You know, if I can, this will probably buttress your notion. There are other people. Dr. Thea James was here a couple of weeks ago. She's the vice president of Boston Medical Center. She admitted that she had been vaccine hesitant, and ultimately she overcame it. And I said to her, did you overcome it by just thinking your way through it, or because you felt as a role model you had to decide to do it? Her answer was that it was both, and then she went on like this.
The only way we are going to, from my perspective, the fastest way to get back to people being able to thrive was going to be the vaccine, and the fact that I could actually be contributing to that by taking the vaccine.
It's really, really powerful kind of message. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, hey, Jim, I was vaccine hesitant. I haven't had a vaccine yet because I can't seem to get one. But go back to where we were last year. You had a president that really did try to tell you that this wasn't real. And then all of a sudden, you had the entire mobilization of this. It felt rushed. It felt hurried. It didn't feel like there was enough science necessarily behind it. I was incredibly skeptical of it simply because of the speed of it all. I mean, last year you had people saying that you should be injecting bleach into your veins. And so it makes perfect sense that people would be hesitant about this. But at the same time, I remember a couple of years ago, I was getting my flu shot, and the nurse who was administering the flu shot was like, I'm not getting one of those. I'm like, but you're giving me one right now. So I do think that there's a great opportunity here to have a real conversation about how we feel about these things. But I also think that, to your position, that if you're LeBron James and if you're going to walk the walk and if you're going to insert yourself in these gigantic issues, you can't just punt and go, yeah, that's a personal decision. You got to step up. If you're going to get involved in all this stuff, this is what it is.
We're ending on the same point. Howard Bryant, it's great to see you as always. Thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good seeing you. Stay safe.